In the heart of a bustling village called Elderville, nestled between swaying palm trees and fields that danced golden under the afternoon sun, there lived an elderly man named Marcus. He was a figure as constant as the morning rooster, a silent observer of the changing tides of life in the village. Marcus had dedicated every ounce of his being to his family, especially his beloved daughter, Lila. Though age had sculpted his body into a frail silhouette, his spine curved like the crescent moon and his hands veined and thin, his spirit burned bright with love and duty. Every morning, even before the village children rubbed the sleep from their eyes, Marcus could be seen rising with the sun to sweep his yard. His broom moved rhythmically, like a prayer whispered to the earth, a ritual that spoke volumes about his diligence, orderliness, and quiet yearning for peace. One fateful morning, as the sun painted soft amber rays over the rooftops, Marcus grasped his broom with the same devotion he had for years. But something was different. A strange tremor pulsed through his hands, almost imperceptible at first, like a leaf shivering in a hesitant breeze. He paused, blinked, and tried again. The broom wobbled. Then the tremor intensified. His fingers twitched uncontrollably, his knees trembled, and a wave of dizziness overtook him. The world spun. Without warning, his legs gave way beneath him. His thin frame crumpled to the ground like a sack of flour being emptied with force. His head hit the hard earth with a dull thud, dust rising around him like a sigh. From across the road, his concerned neighbor, Ms. Amina, a woman known for her loud voice and louder compassion, shrieked in alarm. She dropped her laundry basket and dashed to his side, her slippers slapping the ground. "Somebody help. Marcus is down," she shouted. Villagers rushed over, some curious, others concerned, gathering like bees around a fallen flower. As Marcus was carried to the local clinic, his limbs limp and breath shallow, the medical staff looked on with growing concern. Their brows furrowed, their hands gentle yet uncertain as they examined him. One nurse whispered something to the doctor, who shook his head solemnly. "We can't determine what's ailing him," the doctor admitted after some time, his voice tinged with frustration. "His vitals are unstable, but we're not equipped for this." The family, desperate and fearful, was advised to take him to the larger hospital in the nearby town, a journey that would cost more than they could afford but one they had no choice but to make. Days turned into weeks as they moved from one facility to another, hoping, praying, pleading. Specialists examined him. Machines beeped. Tests were run. Yet no doctor could pinpoint his condition. Some speculated it might be a stroke, others mentioned rare degenerative diseases, and some, more quietly, began to speak of darker possibilities. "Maybe it's spiritual," one whispered. "Or a curse." As modern medicine failed them, his family turned to alternative remedies. Local herbalists brewed bitter potions. Prayers were held in churches and shrines alike. But Marcus only grew weaker. His once bright eyes dulled, and the strength that had sustained him through years of hardship drained away like water from a cracked jar. With each passing week, the gossip around Elderville grew louder and more venomous. "This man was walking just yesterday, and now he lies like a lifeless log," one elderly woman murmured to her friend as they walked past his home. "Perhaps he angered the spirits," said another, nodding solemnly. The whispers took on lives of their own, morphing with each retelling. Children, wide-eyed and curious, pointed at his house and called it cursed. They dared one another to step into the yard, as though ghosts lingered in the corners of his suffering. The same villagers who once accepted his greetings now averted their gaze. Marcus became a ghost in his own life, a cautionary tale whispered at night. He lay in his room, the light dim, the walls silent witnesses to his pain. His muscles withered, his voice vanished, and all that remained was a shallow breath and a soul waiting, silently, to be seen again. Before his illness, Marcus had endured a lifetime of being overlooked. In a community that praised flamboyance and affluence, his quiet dignity often went unnoticed. Elderville was a place where worth was measured in titles and wealth, and Marcus, despite his wisdom, was dismissed as an aging relic. He would attend gatherings at the town square, eager to contribute to discussions about the village's future. He would sit at the edge of the crowd, nodding respectfully, his ideas ready. But when he raised his voice, others scoffed or ignored him entirely. "What wisdom can he offer?" they'd say, snickering. His words were swallowed by the wind, his presence barely acknowledged. Each dismissal etched a deeper scar into his already weathered heart, but he bore it all with quiet grace. At home, his pain cut even deeper. His 4 wives, once young women he had loved and labored for, now saw him as a burden. The warmth that once filled the house had long vanished, replaced by indifference. They treated him with a coldness that stung worse than any illness. Meals were served late or not at all. When he requested water or help, they scoffed, often responding with laughter or silence. "You're not dying yet," one of them once said, walking past his outstretched hand. His daughters, led by Lila, were beautiful and ambitious, their youth glowing like midday sun. But their hearts had grown distant. They spent hours grooming themselves and flirting with suitors who drove fancy cars and wore imported cologne. Their father's decline meant little to them. They saw him as a shadow in the house, an obstacle to their glamorous dreams. The breaking point came one afternoon when Marcus, unable to control his body, soiled himself. The stench filled the room, and his daughters rushed in, their faces contorted in disgust. "Papa!" Lila cried out, but not in concern. In revulsion. They fled the room, covering their noses, leaving him to sit there in his shame. The tears that rolled down his cheeks that day were not from physical pain, but from the crushing weight of abandonment. Yet, amidst the thick fog of neglect, a single beam of light pierced through: Ilara. She lived in a modest hut at the edge of the village, far from the noise and pretensions of Elderville Center. A widow who had known her share of loss and sorrow, Ilara's heart remained unbroken. Though her hands were rough from work and her clothes simple, her spirit shone with rare beauty. She had heard of Marcus's condition and the shameful way he was treated. One dawn, she rose before the birds sang, cooked a bowl of porridge with honey and herbs, and walked silently to Marcus's home. She knocked, but no one answered. So she slipped inside, stepping carefully past the gossiping wives and giggling daughters, and found him lying in a dark room. His eyes fluttered open, weary and uncertain. She knelt beside him, lifted his head gently, and fed him spoonfuls of the warm meal. From that day on, it became her ritual. She bathed him with care, changed his linens, and whispered words of comfort into his ears. Her touch was tender, her presence soothing. For the first time in weeks, Marcus smiled. Despite facing ridicule for her compassion, Ilara's dedication didn't falter. Neighbors chuckled behind her back. "What does she hope to gain?" they asked. But Ilara was unmoved. "Why do you help me?" Marcus sometimes managed to whisper, his lips trembling. Her answer never changed. "Because it's the right thing to do." She didn't seek reward or praise. Her love was pure, her service selfless. While the rest of the village turned away, Ilara remained by his side. Her kindness became the only melody in his otherwise silent world. In her care, he found peace, even if just for a moment. As time went on, Marcus's daughters delved deeper into a life of indulgence. Their house transformed into a den of luxury, music, wine, and laughter echoed through the halls. Strangers filled the living room. Rich men came and went. Perfume hung heavy in the air. And in a room at the far end of the house, their father lay in silence. One day, a tall man with sharp features and kind eyes named Victor arrived at their door. He wore a crisp suit and bore the air of someone searching for something important. "I'm looking for someone," he said. When he entered and laid eyes on Marcus, recognition hit him like a wave. "Marcus! Is that really you?" he cried, rushing forward. He knelt beside him, visibly shaken. The daughters, startled by the commotion, rushed in. "What's happening?" Lila asked. Victor turned to them, incredulous. "You don't recognize this man? He's the founder of Elderville Estates. Without him, none of this would exist." His voice quivered as he recalled how Marcus had once lent him money, mentored him, and helped him build a business when he had nothing but dreams. He owed everything to Marcus, the man who had given selflessly, only to be forgotten by the world. Timestamp 20:06. The sisters froze. The floor beneath them seemed to vanish. Guilt crashed over them like a tidal wave. They had mocked and abandoned their own father, an architect of success, a man of legacy. Shame crept into their eyes. For the first time, they saw not a helpless old man but the giant he truly was. Timestamp 23:44. As Marcus's condition worsened, he requested a final gathering. Word spread quickly, and the entire village assembled in his yard. Elders, youth, even the curious, everyone came. With help, Marcus sat upright, his voice weak but clear. He spoke not in bitterness, but in truth. He recounted the pain of being ignored, the sting of ridicule, and the comfort he found in unexpected kindness. And then he stunned everyone. He would bequeath his entire fortune, not to his wives or daughters, but to those who had shown him compassion. Most of all, to Alara. He named her the new leader of Elderville Estates. Timestamp 27:34. Gasps echoed. Tears flowed. Alara wept openly as she was called forward, her hands trembling with disbelief. She had never expected reward, only offered love. Now, she was being honored beyond measure. Homes were gifted, opportunities opened for the kind-hearted. Marcus had not only forgiven, he had transformed the narrative of his life. Timestamp 28:01. In his final moments, as peace descended over him like a blanket of morning mist, Marcus turned to Alara and whispered, "If you wish, marry Victor." She looked at Victor, and with tears in her eyes and a smile on her lips, she nodded. Not long after, they were wed in a small, joyous ceremony, filled with laughter, dancing, and the blessings of those who now understood what true wealth meant. One peaceful morning, just as the sun kissed the horizon, Marcus closed his eyes for the last time. His breath slowed, then stopped. Surrounded by love, he passed away quietly, leaving behind not just an estate, but a legacy etched into the heart of Elderville. The same villagers who once ignored him now gathered to honor him. They spoke of his wisdom, his humility, and his love. Children were taught his story, not as a fairy tale, but as a lesson in human decency. Thus, in a world that had once ignored him, Marcus became a legend. His life, once overlooked, now stood as a shining testament to the power of kindness, the depth of humility, and the beauty of doing what's right, even when no one is watching.